Welcome back to the Cave of Wonders, Dreamwalkers. I am your Sith Lord Callous for Lord Callous TV, and this is another rancorous review. Now today I want to talk to you all about the High Republic and give my impressions of this first novel to drop for the Luminous Project, entitled The Light of the Jedi. So let's talk about it. As the Luminous Project kicks off with the release of 3 High Republic stories, and more set to be released in the next few weeks, we officially have an expanded universe under the Disney Lucasfilm banner. Let that sink in. The Light of the Jedi is the first adult fiction novel to set the stage for this new era. It was written by Charles Soule, who many will recognize from the Marvel Star Wars comic scene. The High Republic is set roughly 200 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, when the galaxy is at peace. It was described as the golden age of the Republic. The Jedi are bountiful, the Sith and other Darksiders are flying under the radar, and the Republic doesn't even have a standing army. That is because the Chancellor, Lina Soh, has the entire galaxy believing that we are all the Republic. This was their way to reinforce unity. The characters would recite this phrase regularly, and to me it sort of felt like Charles was trying to ride the Mandalorian train and get this slogan to stick, the same as "This is the way." But it just wasn't as impactful to me. The Light of the Jedi spends most of its time in the Outer Rim, across a number of different planets, traversing space and hyperspace lanes, and on board the Starlight Beacon, which is a massive space station that will support Republic troops, politics, as well as the Jedi. It is to be the direct link between the core worlds and the Outer Rim. The story begins with the Great Disaster. A Republic ship is traveling through hyperspace when the impossible happens. An obstacle is in their path. The ship captain does her best to cheat death and maneuver around the obstruction, but the destruction of her ship is inevitable. She manages to close off certain sections of the ship in an effort to save as many passengers as she can, but pieces of the wreckage begin to fly through hyperspace at warp speed, emerging randomly like missiles destroying anything in their path, including inhabited moons and planets. Luckily, there are Jedi close by, and they respond to the first emergence. This is where we are introduced to Jedi Master Avar Kriss, who I really enjoyed. She is present in all 3 of the first stories. Avar reminds me a lot of Bastila and Satele Shan. She interprets the Force as music and has a keen sense of battle meditation, which allows her to connect telepathically with other Jedi, amplifying their power even across great distances. The first act of the novel jumps right into the action and then slowly begins to reveal the universe. Charles does well to showcase the abilities of these new Jedi. I enjoyed the way that he explored the Force through their eyes. We still very much have the cosmic or unifying force and the living force as the key principles, but it was interesting to see how the different Jedi interpreted the Force and how it flowed through them. The first and third act are the best parts of the novel for me. The pacing is just too slow and redundant in the middle. But throughout my read, I found myself drawn to Master Kriss. She was the most interesting, the most memorable. Charles subtly indicates her romantic feelings toward one of her fellow Jedi, Elzar Mann. But Jedi being Jedi, they cannot act on these feelings, so this created a bit of tension between the characters that I hope to see them explore in stories to come. I mean, with passion comes the dark side. Then we have Loden Greatstorm and his young Padawan Belz Zedifar, I think was his name. Loden is a Twi'lek Jedi Master who spends a great deal of time in the novel focusing on training Bell to fall from great distances. Now this struck me as curious and made me theorize that we may be setting up a return of Mace Windu in stories to come. And while I felt like both characters were interesting in the moment, neither were truly compelling. And that was how I felt about most of the characters. There are a number of Jedi introduced in this novel by name, with little to no attention paid to them at all. And what's more, there are still others yet to come. It was almost overwhelming to be introduced to all of these different characters who don't even appear to be major players in the story. This was why I found myself clinging to Avar Kriss. But honestly, my biggest disappointment was probably the villain reveal, the Nihil. They were uninteresting and simply not at all as menacing as they were made out to be. They felt like an NC-17 version of the pirates from the Rebels series. Yeah, they do drugs, yeah, they drink alcohol, but they were not evil. And then the use of the term the rule of three to explain their guidelines or model was very off-putting for me, considering the Sith have the rule of two. It just struck me as very lazy and uninventive. The one villain I am interested in seeing his arc play out is Marchion Ro, the leader. Because done right, I think he has the potential to become the big bad I'm looking to see the Jedi face in the absence of the Sith. And then there's the hyperspace exploration and the role the San Tekkas play in this novel, connecting the High Republic to the Kylo Ren comics and ultimately to the sequel trilogy. Lars San Tekka is the one to lead Luke and Kylo Ren to the High Republic outpost in the Kylo Ren comic. Then he also does the same to provide Poe Dameron Luke's coordinates in The Force Awakens. Now, as you read through the Light of the Jedi, you will easily connect these dots. But what disturbed me the most from the Light of the Jedi was the portrayal of hyperspace and the use of micro jumps that were essentially described as teleportation. It just completely destroyed my impression of hyperspace travel in Star Wars. There were rules in place, if only vaguely described. They were still there. But this novel completely turns that concept upside down. I hope they bother to explain how this new concept of light speed is working exactly, and that it's not just one of those things that was changed for the sake of fitting it into this particular story. Plainly stated, The Light of the Jedi just was not special enough to me to be the first novel to introduce fans to a new era in the Star Wars universe. It tried too hard to do too much, and as a result wound up falling flat. I do enjoy some of Soule's comics in the universe, but for me, he spent too much time on unnecessary details rather than the larger plot. Choosing to introduce so many characters in the very beginning caused their development to suffer, with the exception, of course, of Avar Kriss. And while he did a great job describing the physical attributes of nearly everyone, that is not the same as character development, and is partially why this novel seems to drag on unnecessarily. We have no clear protagonist, no hero or heroine to root for, but instead we have a number of underdeveloped Jedi stuffed into a novel with erratic pacing, as we try to follow a number of different stories to the end. But don't get me wrong, there are some enjoyable parts in Act 1 and Act 3. Avar Kriss was by far my favorite, with glimmers of greatness in Loden Greatstorm. I like the way Charles explores the Force, and I'm interested to see what comes of this new hyperspace travel. The Light of the Jedi is not a bad novel, it just wasn't special enough for me to lead the charge in this new golden era of the Jedi. But you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you read anything from the High Republic, and do you intend to? Do you like what you see so far? And don't forget, if you're new here to the channel, subscribe for more Star Wars content, hit that like button, and then turn on notifications because it really helps my channel get recommended. And if you're so inclined, we have memberships available. Join the Dreamwalkers as we bring order to this YouTube galaxy. Now I'd like to thank John Matrix, Rhodes, Rance, Biggles, Metz, Callisto, Arcus, and Keaton Haas. Thank you so much for your support. Always remember, peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain power. Through power I gain victory, and through victory my chains are broken. The Force shall free me. That is why I do what I love. And I hope you love what I do. This has been another rancorous review. Until next time.